Hello my beautiful people. Today I am talking about American Horror Story Season 3, Coven. I watched this a very long time ago, but I still remember stuff. I've also got the Wikipedia page in front of me just in case I've forgotten anything. I've already done this for both Season 1 and Season 2, so I'll pop the links to those videos in the description below, and I'll also pop some links up here as well. As I said in the past two videos, I started my entire American Horror Story journey with Season 3, and then I went to Season 4, then I went and watched Season 1 and 2, and then I went back to Season 5 and Season 6. So the last full season that I watched was Roanoke. The reason I started watching Coven was because this was the season that Kathy Bates joined the cast. And I adore Kathy Bates. As with the other seasons, you know, you've got your core cast, which include Sarah Paulson, Tessa Farmiga. Is it Farmiga or Farmiga? I'm not sure. Somebody please correct me. Frances Conroy, Evan Peters, Lily Rabe, Dennis O'Hare, Jessica Lange, Jamie Brewer, Alexandra Breckenridge and Robin Bartlett. No relation as far as I'm concerned. Along with new cast members Angela Bassett, Emma Roberts, Kathy Bates and Gabori Sidibe. I was obsessed with this season. Of all of them that I've watched so far, I find this one had the most comedy to it, I think. And I think part of that was how Kathy Bates played her role. The fact that it's based on a coven and the Coven of Witches, and also includes flashbacks to the Salem Witch Trials. It was just right up my alley. I've always had a bit of a fascination with the Salem Witch Trials. I am left-handed, which I've always found it really interesting looking into how left-handers have been treated in history as being of witches and witchcraft. I find it absolutely fascinating, and through my family history on my mum's side, I found a possible connection because there's a surname, a very significant surname on my mum's side, which is Gale, which was my grandma's maiden name, and there were Gales who were involved in the origins of the Salem Witch Trials, and through my family tree history I've been seeing a possible connection to the Gales of the Salem Witch Trials, which is super interesting to me. So straight away that storyline had me completely enticed. As with the other seasons, you've got the elements of using real life stories to make it grittier, and the fact that Kathy Bates has taken a real life horrible woman from history and put comedy into that role is kind of brilliant. Madame LaLaurie was a sick human being. She was awful, and with the way that American Horror Story tries to give everybody their comeuppance, you know, like if somebody is a relatively good person, they try to give them the happy ending they deserve. If they're a truly horrible person, they try to give them the ending that they deserve. And so, because in real life, Madame LaLaurie didn't get her comeuppance for what she did. She managed to escape. She ended up living in France, I think it was, and she ended up just dying of old age, I think. History was kind to her in a way, even though she was caught out and she was hunted, but the fact that she did manage to escape and then she was still able to live in relative luxury until she died, you know, that's not the ending you want for somebody like that. So seeing what happened to her in the series, it gave you the justice that you felt that the character needed, even if the real life person didn't actually get it. To be honest, because of that whole storyline, it got me really interested in Madame LaLaurie as a person, just because I think reading about truly horrific people, obviously it's really horrible what happened, but maybe it's a morbid fascination, I don't know. It's like I've got a book on my bookcase which is completely dedicated to Jack the Ripper, and is it weird to say it's one of my favourite books on my bookshelf? Because it really kind of scrutinises what happened, and there's even a whole section dedicated to kind of who it possibly was. And yeah, it's a morbid fascination with it. I just really enjoyed this season when I think of my favourite seasons, because obviously this was the first season I ever watched, but it's quite possibly a tie between Coven and Murder House, just because you've got the witch storyline in this one, and then with Murder House you've just got that classic haunted house theme to it. So yeah, for somebody who isn't the biggest fan of horror, I find it quite incredible that I've actually got some favourite seasons of like proper classic horror style. Yeah. I still find it completely ridiculous that the concept of American Horror Story came from the minds of the people who made Glee. It completely blows my mind that it's the same imaginations. Sorry, I've injured my back and sitting down is interesting at the moment. Yeah, just that whole thing with the witch trials. I mean, that whole thing is just completely fascinating to me. And the fact that now we've got theories that it was all, that the reason it all happened was some bad rye that made them start hallucinating. And it's just like, that hysteria and the fact that, you know, we're still susceptible to that kind of thing. I mean, you can just look at politics these days and just realise how one thing can just completely change your view on something. And also, especially when it comes to the witch trials, and you look at like what started it all, whether it was bad rye or whether it was just, you know, word of mouth and people just picking up on it. But it was ultimately kids. It was children that started it all off. I think wasn't it basically there was a servant or a slave who shared some stories with the kids, and then the kids started playing and then started accusing people of being witches. All because of a story. It's quite incredible that something so significant in history was started with children telling stories to each other. It's just completely fascinating to me. So this is becoming more of a witch trial conversation rather than a Coven American Horror Story conversation. I think for me, the biggest thing for me of all of it, the one that really stands out to me, is the Madame Lalaurie storyline. And it's not just because of Kathy Bates, but it's the way they bring her into the modern day, which is really clever, because I'm sure at this point, because it was a meme, and it's still a meme, the fact that Kathy Bates, as Madame Lalaurie, sitting in a room watching a television of Barack Obama as President of the United States, staring at it and going, yes! When I think of this season, that is the image I have in my mind. And the other thing I think of is Madame Lalaurie as just ahead. Those are the main things I think of when I think of this season. I just think it's so clever how they've just brought that, such a horrible woman in history, put her in the modern day, and found a way to give that person her comeuppance when she didn't actually get it in real life. I also find it really clever how they incorporated the history of the witch trials into it. Yeah, because the season took place in 2013, so it was 2013 when it came out. In New Orleans, and follows a coven of witches descended from Salem as they fight for survival. And the fact that that is reflected in the names of people as well, because Jessica Lange plays Fiona Good, and the Good family, you know, quite a prominent family in the witch trial. But yeah, so they're literally spelling it out for you, saying this person is descended from the Goods of the witch trials. Gabori Sidibe as Queenie is just, to be fair, because I fell in love with Gabori Sidibe when she was in Precious. And the fact that she wasn't even supposed to be auditioning for that film is just ridiculous in my mind, because, you know, she's such a fantastic actress. And the fact that I've now seen her in other seasons of American Horror Story, just like they just knew that she was the right person to bring in and to stay part of that core cast. Oh, I've just realised that the Robin Bartlett is the one that was on Mad About You. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I've got no relation to her. But it says she was born in New York City. do have some family connections to New York, so you never know. As I talk about that, I just want to mention that I have now found, because my surname is Bartlett, and there's a lot of family history in Dorset. I am not in the direct line of the Bartletts who went to America and were part of the origins of America, but my family history has taught me that we may be first cousins to those Bartletts as we go back. Very, very distantly. It's like first cousins multiple generations removed. I'm just going to put that out there. Yeah, I absolutely love this season. I realise I'm mainly focusing on the Delphine Lalaurie storyline because that is what is most prominent in my mind from this season. What I love about American Horror Story is that nobody is off limits, even when it comes to the core cast. You know, just because they're there and you know who they are doesn't mean they're going to survive. And to be fair, there's multiple seasons that I've watched where they pretty much killed everybody. I mean, I don't think I've seen Kathy Bates survive any of the seasons so far. The fact that they technically kill the Lowry but then bring her back as just a head just tells you everything you need to know, really, doesn't it? The fact that this season was exactly 13 episodes, that just seems so perfect for a season about witches. I don't know if it's something about Emma Roberts. I've seen her in a few things. I wasn't the biggest fan of her character in this season, Addison Montgomery. I think she's just very good at playing the bitch. She's really good at playing the bitch. It might just be a typecast thing, because I've seen her in a lot of things where she plays bitchy characters. And Scream Queens as well, where it's one of those characters you kind of love to hate. Yeah, I think I was most sympathetic to Emma Roberts' character in Freak Show than I was any of the other seasons that I've seen her in. Because even though she starts off horrible in Freak Show, there's a point when things start to turn around and you're just like, oh, actually, she does have a conscience. The person who I think steals the season completely for me is Kathy Bates. In the first season, I think it was Jessica Lange and Lily Rabe. And then in the second season, in Asylum, Lily Rabe completely stole the show for me in that one, because she was just, yeah, the concept of a nun being possessed just was brilliant in season 2. You know, as with other videos, I think I'm always going to purposely avoid talking about the full storyline, because the fact is, I know there'll be people watching this to find out what I thought about certain parts of it, but at the same time, I'm aware that people might be watching this thinking, oh, this might give me an idea about what I'm getting in for in regards to this season, and yeah, so I don't want to spoil things completely. Even in my other videos, I don't talk about everything. I talk about the things that stood out for me, and for me the most it was Madame Lalaurie. The way the whole season started really does set you up for everything else, because with the character of Zoe, when she's going to have sex with her boyfriend for the first time, basically, and the way that she finds out about her witchy powers, horrible and disgusting. Because I think before that she doesn't know she's a witch. She doesn't know that she has these powers, but through her powers, she and her having sex for the first time, she finds out she's a witch because her powers cause whoever she sleeps with to die a horribly disgusting death. It's disgusting. I have found out through watching the seasons that I'm not as squirmish as I used to be when it comes to the violence and the gore. I used to be really bad when it comes to gore. Like, I used to really hate anything involving blood, people being sick. Bodily fluids just really wasn't my jam. But through all of this, I've realised that I'm not quite as bad as I used to be. I think it also comes from the fact that as an actor, I have been killed a few times. I have been strangled, I have been stabbed. There was one thing that I did where I think I was a ghost for the majority of it because I was strangled in a bathtub, and then the rest of it was my character working with somebody else trying to find out who killed me. Yeah, so I've been stabbed. I've had things put down my throat before. It probably sounds really bizarre. But yeah, I've been killed a lot. That just is such a bizarre thing to say. I've been killed. I've been electrocuted in a bathtub. I think it was pretty much straight out of uni I went into things where I was being killed. But yeah, I've been strangled, I've been stabbed. I've been strangled quite a few times, actually. Do I just have something about me where I look like I need to be strangled? Don't answer that. But yeah, I think maybe the fact that I have had that exposure to lots of fake blood. I mean, I even worked at York Dungeons after I graduated from uni, and we got to get really creative with the fake blood. It tasted like strawberries. It tasted like strawberries, and we used to drip it over our lips, and then when somebody came to us, we just went. It tasted quite nice. The fact that it tasted nice makes me think it probably was edible, but we ate it anyway. This video is taking a turn, isn't it? But yeah, it might be some of that exposure to that and trying to get myself to watch more horror and appreciate it a bit more. I think it's overexposure basically, and it means that I don't find the bodily fluids as icky. For me, the things that still get to me is, you know, people breaking bones and stuff like that. I still remember there's an episode of House where I think, was it his own leg or was it somebody else's leg? That sawing sound going through bone. Ugh, I know it's not actual bone because it's a TV series, but God, that sound just goes straight through me. I can almost hear it right now, which is why I'm squirming. So there'll be people who watch all of American Horror Story who'll be just like, oh, I wonder how I felt about Roanoke. I felt like I was going to be sick. But yeah, starting that off with Zoe finding out she's a witch and realising that her power means that she can kill people in a very, very violent way just by sleeping with them. Yeah, it just sets you up a bit. And the way that she uses that to kind of give people their comeuppance in a way. That's the point when you're just like, is she a goodie or is she a baddie? But yeah, that's some of my thoughts on American Horror Story Coven. As I said, you know, I wasn't going to give away the majority of the storyline just because I'm not about that. So the next season I'll be talking about is Freak Show. So I've got lots of things to say about Freak Show, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so thank you so much for... So thank you so much for watching this video. As I said, the next one will be Freak Show. If you like these kind of videos, I can start doing it for other things I've been binge watching. I have been talking for half an hour, so I am going to go. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. I will see you next week with another video, most likely another book. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah. See you later.